If you have not kept up with the NFL offseason, then I have the video for you. Or like me, you may just forget certain moves and realize months later when you're watching Red Zone, oh yeah, I forgot that guy's on that team. So around the time the Kansas City Chiefs won their third Super Bowl in 5 years and back-to-back, it was time for coaches getting fired and coaches getting hired. After plenty of ridicule, Arthur Smith was fired by the Falcons and replaced by Raheem Morris. Arthur now calls plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dave Canales took over as the Panthers head coach, with Frank Reich being let go mid-season in 2023. The Bears made changes to both coordinator spots, but Matt Eberflus hung on to see a third year. Antonio Pierce, who was definitely popular with the players, was retained by the Las Vegas Raiders as their full-time head coach. Jim Harbaugh finally returned to the NFL, taking over the Los Angeles Chargers head coaching job. Gerard Mayo was promoted as the Patriots head coach after the team moved on from Bill Belichick after 24 seasons. After 14 seasons with Seattle, Pete Carroll was moved into a front office role, and they brought on the former Ravens defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald as their head coach. Tennessee surprisingly moved on from Mike Vrabel and replaced him with Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, who has been there for pretty much the entire Joe Burrow era. And Dan Quinn gets his second shot as a head coach, replacing Ron Rivera in Washington. The following players were lucky enough to avoid a one-year commitment and signed long-term deals. Josh Allen of the Jacksonville Jaguars got a 5-year, $88 million guaranteed deal. Brian Burns was tagged by the Panthers, but then traded from Carolina to the Giants, which led to a 5-year, $87.5 million guaranteed deal to stay with New York. Kyle Duggar got an extension with the Patriots for 4 years, $32.5 million guaranteed. Cornerback Jalen Johnson signed a 4-year extension in Chicago for $51 million guaranteed. Justin Madubuike got a 4-year, $75.5 million guaranteed deal to stay in Baltimore. Wide receiver Michael Pittman earned a 3-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts for $46 million guaranteed. Similar to Brian Burns, L'Jarius Sneed was transition tagged but dealt to the Titans after Sneed and the Chiefs could not agree on a long-term deal. He's now on a 4-year deal to stay with Tennessee. Antoine Winfield Jr. became the highest paid safety in football after Tampa Bay gave him a $45 million guaranteed deal over 4 years. The one player remaining who we have yet to talk about was tagged but not extended, and that was T. Higgins. Higgins is set to play on a 1-year, $21.8 million deal with no further commitment. The Bengals can still trade him to another team, but if he keeps missing OTAs and the drama builds, they may have no other choice. With that covered, let's go to some free agent signings and players who are now on new teams. Kirk Cousins was the big standout, going from Minnesota to Atlanta on a 4-year deal with $100 million guaranteed. Cousins is coming off an Achilles tear, and with the Falcons taking a quarterback 8th overall in the draft, it's probably the most puzzling move of the entire offseason. Former Dolphins defensive tackle Christian Wilkins brought his talents to Las Vegas and pairs up with Max Crosby on a 4-year deal worth $110 million. 29-year-old edge rusher Danielle Hunter, who is coming off back-to-back really good seasons, signed a 2-year deal with Houston worth $48 million guaranteed. We'll get to Houston again later, as they made another big trade during their win now window. Left tackle Tyrone Smith went to the Jets on a 1-year deal with the crucial job of protecting Aaron Rodgers' blindside. They also added another pass catcher with Mike Williams signing from the Chargers on a 1-year deal. Wide receiver Marquise Brown went to Kansas City on an affordable 1-year deal as they look to three-peat in Kansas City. Another edge rusher swap occurred as Bryce Huff signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, and soon after Hassan Reddick got traded to the Jets 3 weeks later, which is odd because Hassan Reddick definitely still wants an extension, but the Jets have yet to give it to him. Patrick Queen went from one rival to another, joining Pittsburgh on a 3-year deal with $20 million guaranteed. L'Jarius Sneed was not the only big move for Tennessee, as they signed Calvin Ridley from Jacksonville. They also added Tony Pollard for another offensive weapon. They're definitely giving Will Levis enough to work with there. 2020's second overall pick Chase Young landed in New Orleans on a 1-year deal. Saquon Barkley shockingly joined a division rival going to the Eagles, ensuring that most Giants fans will dislike him forever. Josh Jacobs replaced Aaron Jones going to Green Bay on a 4-year deal. Speaking of the Packers, they gave safety Xavier McKinney a big contract worth $23 million guaranteed over 4 years. Aaron Jones, however, went to a division rival, joining the Minnesota Vikings on a 1-year deal. The league's most recent 2,000-yard rusher Derrick Henry goes to Baltimore, creating one of the more dynamic quarterback-running back tandems in the NFL. Veterans Bobby Wagner and Austin Eckler went to the Commanders on short-term deals, and smaller quarterback moves like the Raiders signing Gardner Minshew to most likely be their starter. Jacoby Brissett goes back to where it all started as he joins the Patriots as a bridge quarterback. Sam Darnold will do the same in Minnesota as JJ McCarthy will get worked in. And lastly, the Steelers made a lot of quarterback headlines, not only trading Kenny Pickett to Philly, but also added Russell Wilson in free agency on a very team-friendly one-year deal. And as the cherry on top, they then traded for Justin Fields, not giving up much at all, but now Fields will presumably be the backup quarterback for Wilson in 2024, which is definitely weird. As for notable trades, we have a few to get to. After a down second half of the season in 2023, the Bills traded Stephon Diggs to Houston for mainly a second-round pick in 2025. This gives Houston a stacked offense on paper with Stroud, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and recently added Joe Mixon. After plenty speculation of his future, Jerry Jeudy was surprisingly traded to the Cleveland Browns for 2 late-round picks. Jeudy then signed with Cleveland for a 3-year deal after the trade. Mac Jones was traded to Jacksonville for a measly 6th-round pick. Zach Wilson was sent to Denver for scraps as well. Keenan Allen was sent to Chicago for a 4th-round pick, giving them a pretty interesting offense in 2024. First overall quarterback Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and 9th overall pick Rome Odunze. Wide receiver Deontay Johnson was sent to Carolina to try and get Bryce Young some much-needed help. Sam Howell was sent to Seattle with the Commanders holding the 2nd overall pick and definitely set on taking a quarterback, which is a good segue to the draft. The 2024 draft was definitely unique. 6 quarterbacks went in the first 12 picks, and a defensive player was not selected until pick 15. As for the quarterback class, it went like this. Caleb Williams went to Chicago, Jaden Daniels went to the Commanders, Drake May is a Patriot, Michael Penix went to the Falcons, which was a shocker, JJ McCarthy went to the Vikings, and Bo Nix went to the Denver Broncos. The Chargers bypassed wide receiver round 1 after trading Allen and then Mike Williams to the Jets, although they did land Ladd McConkey in round 2. Brock Bowers went to the Raiders just a year after they took a tight end in the 2nd round, which of course was Michael Mayer. The Bills tried adding to their depleted wide receiver room by adding Keon Coleman with the 1st pick of the 2nd round. And then there was some extra stuff. The Chiefs had quite the interesting offseason, highlighted by Rashee Rice's bad driving and Harrison Butker giving a speech at a college that did not go over well with some people. Tom Brady got roasted on Netflix, Matt Ryan and Aaron Donald retired. I think we covered everything there, well, hopefully. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.